Yeah, I mean, but your car weighs it's not that heavy, right?
Oh no, it's super lightweight. In fact, even with the all-wheel drive, so the drive shafts are
Uh-huh.
carbon fiber.
That scares me.
The um transfer case is aluminum and titanium.
Oof.
So the entire all-wheel drive system, including the transfer case,
Uh,
weighs 150 pounds.
yeah, so you're coming in at what, 1,800 pounds, maybe?
I'm not sure. It is ridiculously lightweight. Like
Yeah,
there is not much to it.
yeah, 300 horse on a vehicle that light is fine,
Oh man.
especially all wheel drive.
Oh yeah, and it's got
Yeah,
anti-Ackerman steering. So the way that the suspension and steering geometry is, it carves in corners almost like a surfboard.
mm-hmm.
So when you're diving into corners, it's just crazy. You can be doing speeds that make people's eyes go blurry into corners without a problem. It is so much fun.
uh,
It is so much fun. I love that car
make
so much.
motion
And
sickness great again.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
when I first picked up the car, like Lindsay's sitting in the passenger seat and she's not paying attention, and I didn't realize what would happen when the turbo lag stopped when I went to take off, because I just picked up the car,
Mhm.
and when I gunned it, she slammed back in the seat and she went, "Oh my god, I went blind for a second. What the hell was that?" And I'm like, "It's not even in race mode." Like,
Yeah.
it's Jesus Christ. And it just was off like a shot. I love that. I mean, but the quadrifolio, so like after I pay this one off, after I pay the Julie off, the quadrifolio Stelvio is the next one that we're getting. We're going to add that to the stable so we have a pair of alphas. Because realistically, drivetrain wise, they're identical cars.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing different between the two. It's just that they took all of the car stuff and put it in the SUV.
Yeah. 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 As you get older, you want an SUV anyway.
Well, mostly it's because I really want to be able to go camping. And like we were going to go camping this year.
That's what I just said. As you get older, as your daughter gets older, you want to take her places, right? You got Lindsay and your daughter now, and right.
I don't give a shit what Rose wants as far as a car goes. Like that kid'll suck it the hell up.
But you want room,
right? Yeah, I want to be able to go camping, and I realize that a 4-door sports sedan does not have enough cargo space to haul everything I need to go camping. And so I made the determination I need an SUV. So it's going to be a Stelvio Quadrifolio is going to be the next purchase. They run right around 45K. So not terrible used. And so that's what I'm going to pick up.
Buckshot is painted off with all that big TikTok money.
Dude, do you know what 1 million views on TikTok pays you? $40. $40 for 1 million views.
Yeah. You just got you got to wear low cut shirts and do little dances. You'll make money.
I just need like one cat girl, like actual cat girl, to just dance on my channel, and then I will just do a voiceover of it that's like history content.
There you go.
Big titty cat girl doing a little dance and history content.
There are a few of those in the libertarian circles.
That's what I need, man. Like I need to do that because this is, I don't know. I need an income of like $100,000 a month to support my car habit, and
that's it. That's only 100,000.
Yeah, just $100,000 a month. I can probably support my car habit properly. It's
$7,000 of that is just to cover insurance. Man,
not even oh man, it's like I think I'm paying. So I traded 2 cars in for the Alfa Romeo, and I am paying the same amount in insurance as I did on both of those vehicles just for the Alfa, and I am well over 25. and have been married, and that is still what I'm paying. And I haven't had what is it, like a in motion or whatever ticket in like, I don't,
a long time,
10 years plus. So like, and I'm still paying that much money for this thing because it's an exotic, and that's what you deal with exotics. Like, you just have to deal with the reality that insurance is more expensive. Your cost of ownership is slightly more expensive. It's not much with an alpha. It really isn't. But you got to deal with that. You got to deal with the fact that everybody is going to ask you, what the hell is that thing? Just constantly. What is that? It's an Alfa Romeo.
It's a car.
The funny thing is like, people will ask me, what is that? And I'll be like, oh, it's an Alfa Romeo. And they're like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
It's the thing that you just asked me about, you fucking moron. Like, and I say this because I have gotten that reaction at least a dozen times, where they're like, what is it? Oh, it's an Alfa Romeo Giulia Q4. And they go, well, like, I know what that is.
I just told you what it is.
Obviously you don't. That's why you asked me, and then I told you. And if you're confused, it's the car that's sitting the fuck in front of you, you idiot.
Just tell people it's a Ford. It's a Ford.
I'm gonna start being like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you seeing? Like, what? The thing right there. I don't know what you're talking about. What? And just act like they're hallucinating, because it seems like that's
you gotta tell people, oh, it's an F-250.
That's a truck, bro. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
it's a
I don't know who sold you that grass, bro, but you should probably talk to them about not lacing it.
It's a Silverado. So, yeah, hello. Welcome to another semi-interesting episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That's BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion is entirely hypothetical. This is episode 227, and I think we should just jump right into it, because I have an article that we really just absolutely must cover. And you got the articles up?
I do. I have them all here.
Okay. No. Okay. Now, which one was it? Oh, we're talking about Oppenheimer. Yes. Okay. Yes. Because that's the hotness right now. The Oppenheimer movie.
Yeah, everyone's talking about Oppenheimer and Barbie. And
yes, long after Oppenheimer. So the Oppenheimer bombs went off in the 40s, right? The early 40s.
Well, yeah, it was. So Fat Man or Little Boy? Little Boy was initially tested
46 to 52.
Yeah, well, so the original atomic bomb was tested in 44,
something like that. Yes,
44. That's when Oppenheimer famously said, behold and tremble, for I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
As he realized that he had been so concerned over whether or not he could that he never asked whether or not he should.
There was an actual discussion that happened before the first test that there was a possibility that the explosion could ignite the oxygen in the atmosphere.
Yeah, that was a slight statistical probability.
And not, I mean, just the bomb would cause all of the oxygen in the atmosphere to ignite.
Either that or
All.
possibly create a black hole sucking all matter on planet Earth into it.
Yes, that was
also a possibility that was discussed.
Yeah. and they still went forward with the test.
Yeah, well, because FDR.
Yes. But long after Oppenheimer, so this is like 80 years ago, the U.S. is still paying benefits to people who were exposed to radiation from the nuclear tests.
Yeah, because, I mean, remember this, the atomic tests are so secret, even after World War II, right? Because we're in the middle of the Cold War at that point. So, and Russia still doesn't, Soviet Union still doesn't have the bomb. So it's all so secret. They're not even warning the people whose homes are within fallout zones that they're detonating nuclear weapons near them.
Yes. Yes. Christopher Nolan's new film Oppenheimer follows the development of the first atomic bombs during World War II under the supervision of theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. The so-called father of the atomic bomb is tapped to helm the Los Alamos laboratory, where the Manhattan Project focused on developing a nuclear weapon faster than Nazi Germany, leading to a race against time. And while most of the characters in Oppenheimer seem to understand the immediate destructive impact of using atomic bombs on targets like the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they don't necessarily think of the long-term effects of creating and using such a powerful and devastating weapon.
Well, to be fair, atomic weapons don't actually create residual radiation. Atomic weapons don't.
Yeah.
So like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, they poison people with radiation the instant they detonate, but as soon as they're done detonating, that's it. Unless you are exposed in that instant, that there is no residual radiation.
Yeah. Let's see. Radiation exposure has been a persistent problem that the U.S. is still dealing with today. Long after the creation and testing of the first nuclear weapons and the many more tests that followed, Washington is still paying benefits to veterans and civilians exposed to radiation from nuclear bomb tests and cleanups.
Yeah. We once detonated a nuclear weapon, not atomic, nuclear, right? Like full on H-bomb. We detonated that in the air over top of a bunch of military personnel to demonstrate, oh, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And don't get me wrong, radiation is not nearly as dangerous as people think it is. It's not nearly as horrible as people think it is. It's, for the most part, radiation exposure in general, like regular radiation exposure, rinse yourself off with some iodine, soap, and water, and you're fine.
Yeah. Pop some, iodine prosopate. Proposate.
You don't even necessarily need iodine pills. Like, you can just wash yourself off with soap and water. That's enough to carry away any irradiated particles. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, I would still. It was over 40 years after the first nuclear test, codenamed Trinity, before the risks and dangers were officially recognized. The first acknowledgement of both the need to compensate servicemen and women affected by the nuclear radiation and the linkage between cancers and certain illnesses and radiation exposure came in 1988.
1988?
1988, when Congress passed the Radiation Exposed Veterans Compensation Act.
88?
88. Over 40 years, yes.
The original veterans who had been exposed
between 46 and 52
were grandparents.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
By the time they were like, hey, we fucked up.
Yeah. The bill was prompted by the concerns of, quote, atomic veterans, individuals who had been present during the atmospheric nuclear test from 46 to 52, and who spoke about the serious health complications that they developed from exposure to radiation.
Are you suggesting that radiation might be dangerous?
The bill included specific diseases, including leukemia and certain other types of cancers, but hedged on how serious the illness had to be and the timeline of when and how the veterans had been exposed to radiation. It also defined, quote, radiation risk activity as specifically being related to, quote, on-site participation in the atmospheric detonation of a nuclear device. The U.S. occupation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki between August 1945 and July 1966, and the internment of a prisoner of war in Japan during World War II.
Funny thing is that it mentions Hiroshima and Nagasaki between August 45 and July 46. There was no residual fucking radiation in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during that time period. So like there's no American service member should have been exposed to significant amounts of radiation during that time period, because again, it was an atmospheric detonation, right? It was above the ground, which means it didn't send up irradiated particles, which meant that there's no radiation hanging around here. It's all just gone. And I mean, okay, so you're there for it, they'll cover you. Yeah. You're a prisoner of war, which doesn't make a lot of sense. They'll cover you. You're in places where there isn't any radiation, they'll cover you. But if you showed up to recover and clean up all of the heavily irradiated equipment after the detonation, go get fucked.
Yeah, hold on. This gets better, of course, right? It offered $50,000 to individuals residing or working downwind of the Nevada test site where decades of nuclear weapons testing took place.
And if you ever want to look that up, there is a website you can go see all of the satellite images that the Soviet Union took of the detonation sites, where you can see the craters and stuff from like underground testing and the blast zones from above ground testing. It's kind of cool.
So it offered $50,000 to individuals residing or working downwind of the Nevada test site, $75,000 for workers who participated in atmospheric weapons tests, and $100,000 for uranium miners, millers, and transporters. But while limited in scope, the Radiation Exposed Veterans Compensation Act opened the floodgates for discourse around nuclear radiation effects and subsequent legislation providing further benefits.
Can you imagine being a guy who like put a chunk of uranium on a lathe?
Oh God.
I mean, uranium occurs naturally, right? It's not like plutonium, which has to be manufactured.
Yeah.
Uranium occurs naturally. You can pull uranium ore out of the mountains of like Utah and Nevada and stuff.
Pine Ridge.
So, but the idea of like it's been concentrated, it's radioactive, and you're just sitting there with a lathe, creating all that dust,
breathing it in,
inhaling.
Just having it fall over your skin. Oh God.
God.
I don't know why our kid has 7 toes.
I don't know why we don't have kids. I was super fertile before I got this job at the mill.
Oh my goodness.
Because I mean, the reality is like radiation, especially ionizing radiation, like gamma and such, destroys DNA.
Look at Iraq, right? With the U.S. using depleted uranium rounds.
Yeah, which isn't supposed to truly be radioactive.
Look at all the birth defects that have happened in that area over depleted uranium rounds, and now you're on a mill mining or milling like actual
enriched uranium. not depleted, enriched the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Here's $100,000.
Here's $100,000.
Yeah.
You can't even buy a house for it, but here you go.
Yeah. Here's $100,000. That's your compensation.
I'll give you $100,000 to fuck off.
Yeah. In 1995, President Bill Clinton's Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments released a 1,000-page document. Detailing extensive investigations into questionable U.S. government-led radiation experiments involving human test subjects during the Cold War.
And not just human test subjects. These are members of the American military.
Yes.
Okay? These are people who sign contracts to, like, go fight a war.
Yes.
Who they're like, well, you signed every right that you have away, so we're going to go ahead and use you like a guinea pig.
Hold on. You want to read that next paragraph? Some of those subjects?
Some of those subjects, as previously documented by Eileen Welsom's The Plutonium Experiment story and the Markey Report, had been unknowingly and unwillingly injected with plutonium.
Go ahead, read those like last 6 words again.
Unknowingly and unwillingly injected with plutonium.
But don't worry, guys, the government cares about you.
Hooray for the VA.
Unknowingly and unwillingly injected with plutonium. Yes. But here's $100,000.
Here's $100,000. We injected you intentionally with a highly radioactive substance. Surprise!
Oh. Yes. The report also acknowledged that atomic veterans who had been involved in nuclear testing and cleanup activities were unaware of the consequences, leading to Clinton's public apology on behalf of the U.S. government in 1996 to all veterans and civilians involved with nuclear testing.
That's 50 years fucking later. Anyway, yeah. Just spunk glowing. I mean, strictly speaking, if you shine UV light on spunk, it always glows.
Yes, but okay. So yeah, you didn't want it, but we unwillingly injected you with plutonium. We're sorry.
Oopsie doodles are bad. Yeah. Here's $100,000 for the fact that we have ended your bloodline forever because we sterilized you.
Remember this is Nevada, right? Isn't that where The Hills Have Eyes was filmed?
Well, yeah, that's why The Hills Have Eyes is
that's
based
there. Yeah.
Which always makes me laugh because I'm like, the reality is, because I know what radiation actually does to people. No, you don't have a bunch of homicidal mutants. You just have a bunch of puddles of goo. Like, radiation doesn't do that. It turns you into a puddle of goo.
Yeah, but everything's fine because Bill Clinton apologized.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, but I am very sorry that we accidentally, perhaps, that we injected you against your will,
unknowingly and unwillingly injected you with plutonium,
with one of the most radioactive substances known to man.
Yeah. Here's $100,000 or $75,000, whatever it was.
Here's a chunk of money that can't even buy you a house.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yes. One atomic veteran who was sent to the Marshall Islands, where the U.S. carried out dozens of nuclear weapons tests after World War II to help with the cleanup effort in the 1970s, previously told Insider, that's Business Insider magazine that the article is from, the potential dangers of radiation were never properly addressed beforehand and that he didn't receive adequate training. Quote, on our end, Most of the guys are dead because of the cancers and all the ailments that came along with the radioactive material that we ingested.
Yeah, because like one of the dangers of being in an irradiated zone, like you as a person can survive in an irradiated zone, like even Chernobyl, like you go to Pripyat, right? For a really long time, and you're fine. Like it's not going to bother you. Your body is really good at getting rid of that. Um, but if you're eating things from there,
Yeah.
You're ingesting
That's
the
like
radiation.
you ever see the documentary about the Chernobyl dogs?
Oh yeah, and the dogs are fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine.
They have altered DNA, but they're fine. Which is weird.
The reality is that life on Earth is really, really good at adapting. It's really good at figuring out how to deal with things, especially radiation, because radiation is a thing that exists around us all the time.
Radiation.
Right? Phone. Radiation is Wi-Fi and radios and background radiation, right? Like when I talk about, because like I'll argue with people all the time about, well, it's not that much worse than background, and they're like, oh, radiation is bad. I'm like, but your body is adapted to dealing with background radiation, because that's a thing that always happens, right? There's always a little bit of radiation, and you're really good at dealing with it. Like biology is really good at dealing with radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that it is good at dealing with it, so it can keep going.
Yes.
The issue is that ionizing radiation, like gamma radiation, damages DNA, which alters the reproduction of cells, which causes things like tumors to happen. And we call that cancer.
Yes.
And that's the issue, is that, and the irony, right? We use radiation to destroy cancer, and radiation causes cancer. It's
enough to make you want to stick your head in the microwave.
I mean, don't do that. It's a terrible idea.
I've seen South Park. I know what it does.
But in general, you will take more radiation standing in front of a microwave for 5 minutes while it runs than you will if you go to Pripyat for a week.
Yeah.
Outside Chernobyl, right? Like this is where people are wrong about radiation, and they have this flawed idea about radiation. But when you're actually detonating literal actual nuclear devices next to people and when you're injecting them with plutonium, my whole shtick about, well, radiation isn't that bad, that goes out the window, because in that instance, it is that fucking bad.
Yeah. Unknowingly and unwillingly injecting them with plutonium.
I mean, there was an incident in Brazil, I think. It might have been Brazil. I can't remember for sure. Where there was an orphan source. If you're unfamiliar with the term orphan source, basically what it means is it's a nuclear radioactive source that is not controlled. And there's an orphan source because there was this abandoned medical facility, and they had imaging equipment that used cesium-137 powder for imaging. That is like, that material is so radioactive that if you find it in a tube, the tube literally says drop and run on it. Because if you hold it for more than a second, you're gonna die.
Yes.
And somebody trying to salvage stuff had smashed it, and it was this pretty sparkly blue powder that seemed to glow, and it was super neat.
Do not snort the sparkly blue powder.
People used it as body glitter. Yeah, it didn't work out well. It didn't work out well for these people. The little girl who used it initially I think she was like 6.
Yep.
Yeah, it went
Probably-
poorly.
Probably didn't see 8.
Yeah, she didn't see 6.5. Let's
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Quote, on our end of it, most of the guys are dead because of the cancers and the ailments that came along with the radioactive materials that we ingested. Ken Brownell said in an interview last year, adding that he had little protective gear. He said he was diagnosed in 2001 with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and given months to live, but managed to beat it. Another atomic veteran who was sent to the Marshall Islands, Francis Lincoln Grolfs, Grahllfs.
There are not enough vowels in that last name.
there's one vowel in what 7 letters.
They're not Grolfs. I think it's Grolfs.
Grolfs. Okay.
I think
I'm gonna go Grolfs. It just sounds cool. All right. Francis Lincoln Grolfs wrote in a 2021 Military Times op-ed that, quote, little was known by the public about the long-term effects of radiation exposure. Like Brownell, he believes several health complications that he's suffered from, including cancer, are a result of the radiation.
It's distinctly possible. I mean, without knowing their situations, I couldn't make that call. But yeah, it's distinctly possible.
Yeah, they ingested.
I mean, if you're drinking water from the site, that's probably a death sentence.
Yeah, water from the site, the dust. Just no, thank you.
The thing to remember is, like, if you bring in your own water and you bring in your own food from outside, you're probably fine.
Yeah. Current VA benefits related to nuclear radiation exposure inside clean clips at the Marshall Islands and Palomares, Spain, from the 1996 U.S. Air Force plutonium accident. We have to look that up. Hold on.
Oopsie doodles.
We have to look that up now.
Palomares?
Yes.
Oh, you have fun looking up Palomares.
Let's see. The 1966 Palomares B-52 crash also occurred. The Palomares accident occurred on the 17th of January, 1966, when a B-52 bomber of the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command collided with a KC-135 tanker during mid-air fueling at 31,000 feet over the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Spain. The KC-135 was destroyed when its fuel load ignited, killing all 4 crew members. The B-52 broke apart, killing 3 of the 7 crew members aboard.
There is actually a movie made about it called Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
There were 32.
Okay. At the time of the incident, the B-52 was carrying 4 B-28F1 Model 2Y1 thermal nuclear bombs, all of which fell to the surface. 3 were found on land near small fishing vessels, the Palomares, and the municipal expanded non-nuclear explosives, and 2 of the weapons detonated upon impact on the ground, resulting in the contamination of about a square mile with radioactive plutonium. The 4th, which fell into the Mediterranean Sea, was recovered intact after a search lasting 2.5 months.
Yes, and there's still 1 unaccounted for.
That is exactly what it says, huh? Because it says that let's see. Yeah, I love that's fantastic.
Yes, there have been 32 broken arrows. That's what they're called when you lose track of a nuclear bomb. One of them, the United States almost nuked North Carolina.
Yes. 3 of the weapons were located on land within 24 hours of the accident. The conventional explosives and 2 had detonated on impact, spreading radioactive contamination, while a 3rd was found relatively intact on the riverbed. That's them. The 4th weapon could not be found despite an intensive search of the area. The only part that was recovered was the parachute tailplate, leading researchers to speculate that the weapon's parachute had deployed and that the wind had carried it out to sea. That's a good cover-up.
There's several lost at sea. There's a few lost in the Arctic. There's my favorite broken arrow is the one that almost nuked North Carolina.
Woo!
B-52 crashes, bomb drops. It actually does kill somebody on the ground as it crashes through a family's house. Did not detonate. However, there were 3 safety devices on the bombs to keep them from detonating. 3 stages.
3 stages.
Each one itself had like 5 or 6 pieces.
Uh-huh.
The entire first stage failed.
Oh.
The entire second stage failed. All but one piece of the final stage failed.
Yeah.
It was a single cotter pin.
That close.
A single cotter pin from accidentally nuking North Carolina.
Yeah. I'm sure it was accidental. I mean, and I know about Asheville. I would nuke it too.
Yeah, well, the problem was, I mean, those were much more common. So, like, there was a period right before we developed ICBMs as a delivery system. We had bombs, right? And they had to be carried in aircraft, and those aircraft were B-29s. And B-29s are impressive aircraft. They're huge. They're, pretty good. They can fly incredibly high. They can fly incredibly long. But they're still an aircraft, which means they still crash.
Yeah.
And there was a period during the Cold War when the United States had them in the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, it is an inevitability that a bunch of them are going to crash.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. There are other incidents as well that could see veterans or workers receive benefits. Those who were stationed at the McDurrell, Antarctica nuclear plant from 64 to 73, and those who have worked with depleted uranium found in armor and munitions, such as the shells the U.S. is sending to Ukraine.
Yeah. Because a depleted uranium round, right? DU as a round is inert as fuck. Like, you can handle it all day. You could sleep with it as a pillow. You'd be fine.
You could.
But when it hits a target,
yes,
part of it turns into dust. And that dust is just radioactive enough.
Yes.
To cause problems.
Most recently, service members involved in the Fukushima nuclear accident in 2001 and its cleanup can receive benefits.
2011. You said
2011, yes. Sorry, 2011. The qualifications and payout depend on the situation and circumstance of veterans involved in, as well as specific cancer or illness they developed and how likely it is to be linked to the radiation.
Not service connected. Sorry. I was literally injected with uranium. Yeah. Not service connected.
I told them no, but they did it anyway.
The important thing is, do you know one of the things that protects you from radiation poisoning?
What's that?
Alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah. Because it's the liver, right? The alcohol, what is it? It's the
alcohol.
The alcohol
really likes to grab onto things.
Yeah, the alcohol helps process it.
Yeah, it grabs onto the radiation and hauls it out of your system. So the irony is that grunts actually themselves are very unlikely to deal with any ill issues from radiation because we're all raging alcoholics.
Nuclear weapons testing also devastated local communities, both in the U.S. and abroad. Detonations on the Marshall Islands, for example, wreaked havoc on the environment and left individuals worried about long-term impact of radiation exposure on their health.
And we still don't know what what if any species may have been wiped out entirely that were
In the
endemic
Marshalls,
to these
yeah.
various atolls? Not just the Marshalls, but the Bikini
Bikinis, yeah.
Atoll and everything. Like, we have no
Mhm.
idea where these
Yep.
nuclear tests were being done in the South Pacific. What creatures we possibly killed forever.
Yep. How many desert tortoises were killed? Just saying.
We have no idea. We have no idea what unique species of fish and coral and
Yep.
all these things that we wiped out because they were endemic to these specific atolls.
Yes.
No idea.
Such was the cause after the Manhattan Project's Trinity test when, in July 1945, the world's first atomic bomb went off, sending radioactive fallout raining down on numerous people. Though this historically significant test was the feature of Oppenheimer, the film appears to overlook the lasting local impacts of the world-changing explosions.
That's bullshit. That last line is kind of bullshit because again, the atomic test did not actually send a lot of radiation anywhere. Now, the people who are right there, yeah, they probably got irradiated, but anybody else, because it was an atmospheric detonation, and when you detonate in the atmosphere,
I just imagine the VA, and you're like, oh yeah, I was at this test site, and the VA is like, walk into that dark room.
Yeah, just
you're not glowing.
If you're that stick figure glowing, it's like, oh yeah, that's probably not good.
Yeah, I'm not shaking your hand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is that when it comes to atomic weapons, right? Atomic weapons that are air detonated really don't irradiate people on the ground. That's really not a concern.
No, the U.S. military did that, quote,
thing.
unknowingly and unwillingly. And
right. When you inject people with plutonium, though,
unknowingly
that definitely
and unwillingly
fucking irradiates
people with plutonium.
That will irradiate them quite badly. It's like, here, do you want to drink this shot glass full of tritium? Like, because tritium, you can wear it in a necklace, right? You could wear tritium in a necklace, and it's not going to do anything. But you drink it.
I just picture someone yelling at a Marine. Marine, stop eating the night sights.
But it makes my teeth glow, Sarge.
Oh,
it's, I watched someone break a chem light into their own face once.
My little sister chewed through one of the glow lights one time.
Yeah, because the thing that glows could not possibly be bad for you.
I think she was like 7, but yeah. Yeah,
definitely old enough to not be chewing on things that glow.
She chewed through one. It was bad. Oh,
I watched a buddy of mine. He was like, can I get it to glow brighter? And was doing this, and it went, and his whole face got spattered with red chem light.
I don't think that qualifies as unknowingly and unwillingly.
Yeah. And he just like looked at us with his face glowing. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you didn't want to have kids anyway, right? So
yeah. You're not going on the raid.
And he's just like, what did I do? And I was like, well, I mean, what did you do? A service to the human race. That's what you did just now. Glow in the dark Marines sound over.
You just hear "Oorah!" There's a bunch of glowing figures running at you.
If you've ever played Fallout 4 and you've had to deal with the glowing ghouls, just imagine them being like Crayola as they.
That would be a cool unit name, though. The glowing ghouls.
It would actually. That would be.
It'd be a really cool band name too.
It would. Also, indicative. Good God.
Oh,
that's. I mean, the most of it, I mean, realistically, you can be exposed to a remarkable amount of radiation and still be okay. But if you're injected,
Unknowingly and unwillingly injected with plutonium,
yeah, you're not going to be okay.
or you're
That's not
milling enriched uranium on the lathe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, okay, we're just going to make a whole bunch of dust here and we're just going to inhale all that. And oh my God.
Oh, knocking the dust particles off your sandwich before you eat it.
Well, I mean, or just having it all over your hand, picking up your sandwich
Yep.
and eating it. Because even if, right, like I mean, if you've worked in any kind of industrial setting, right, you know that there are established safety protocols. And then there's what people actually do.
Yes.
And the reality is, these guys probably would have had this shit all over their hands as they're eating. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, the level of radiation, you might as well have just like sat in a microwave for a few minutes. Because Christ, the amount of radiation you received.
Okay.
Oh God.
The Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. There's a map.
There's a map?
There's a map. RECA covered areas. There's a map.
And let's see, that shows North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. And there's special areas
Yeah.
in New Mexico and Utah.
So that green area is the overlapping uranium worker states and downwind counties. Nevada is the downwind counties. And then all the other ones are uranium worker states.
Good God.
Yeah.
And it's not like radiation does its damage very, very quickly, right? Like once it's done its damage, and you can't undo it. Like, it's done its damage. The best you can do is you can stop it from doing continual damage. That's the point of iodine. That's the point of the soap and water to wash yourself off.
Yeah.
Is to stop the damage.
Yeah. You ever see a movie called Thunderheart with Val Kilmer and Graham Greene?
I've heard of it. I think I've seen it, but
Thunderheart's based on real events in the 1970s in the Pine Ridge Reservation of North Dakota. So the whole thing was, this was during the rise of the Aboriginal rights movement. Val Kilmer plays a FBI agent that is sent there to assist the main FBI agent assigned to that territory to find the murderer of a Aboriginal rights movement leader. So through his investigation of trying to find the murderer, it is uncovered that the leader, or the FBI, the head FBI for the area, is actually working behind the scenes with the non-Aboriginal rights movement's members of the Pine Ridge Reservation leadership to secretly test drill for uranium at the head of the Little Walken River.
At the head of the river?
At the head of the river. Yes. And then when Val Kilmer's character gets the information that he needs that proves all this. They kill his source and then try to kill Val Kilmer's character. This is all based on real events, by the way. All based on real events. So, but that, if go watch that movie, like Lindsay would especially like that movie.
I'll have to mention it to her.
Yeah, Thunderheart. It's one word, Thunderheart. So,
I mean, I like Val Kilmer, so as an actor,
Yes.
so it's I'm sure it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll have to check
Test drilling for uranium. That's a heavy movie. That was also, that's why the drilling sites, North South Dakota, that's why they're on that map. Yes.
I mean, uranium ore is worth a huge amount of money if you get your hands on it, because it's rare.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, all right, we're done with that article.
Yeah, that was almost half the episode.
Yeah. Do we need to go somewhere lighter?
Yeah, I feel like we do, because again, we just spent like almost half the episode on an article about.
Let's do
radiation.
two quick updates. Two quick updates. Daniel Benea, he is the guy that owns that quote paramilitary training facility in Vermont, right? The one that the judge ordered all the buildings taken down. The owner of an unpermitted paramilitary training camp in West Palette remains free 3 weeks after the judge issued the warrant for his arrest. Authorities tasked with carrying out the judge's contempt orders say they've contacted Daniel Benet and believe they know where he is, but he's still not in custody. Basically, what the sheriff says is, we are not turning this into a Waco. We are not going to go in there with a show of force. Because I believe that, personally, I believe that trying to raid a paramilitary training facility is a bad idea.
These people have literally been training in this facility for exactly what you're about to do.
Yes.
Do you think it will go well? The answer is no. And so they're like, maybe this isn't worth it.
Yes.
Because again, remember that all he did is violate a blood money order. All he did is not pay the proper money for.
No, he had the permits.
Because they changed. Well, but it's because they changed
their
requirements.
Yes. And then the state passed a law banning quote paramilitary training facilities, and they want him to take down his school. Yeah. And he's like, come and make me.
Yeah, so the cops are looking at this and going, this is so not worth it.
Okay, another update. Ammon Bundy. So that whole situation with Diego Rodriguez's grandson that was taken by St. Luke's Hospital, right? And Ammon and Diego Rodriguez, they did some videos talking about St. Luke's Hospital, called them kidnappers, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, Diego's grandson was returned. He's fine and all that good stuff. But St. Luke's sued Ammon and Diego for defamation.
Yeah.
Ada County jury has ruled that far-right activist Ammon Bundy and his associate Diego Rodriguez owe a combined $52.5 million in damages to St. Luke's health system and other plaintiffs in a defamation case that just ended.
Jesus.
$52.5 million for a couple of videos and some protests saying that the hospital are kidnappers when they literally kidnapped a kid from his parents because they missed a pediatrician visit.
My response would be exactly Ammon Bundy's response, which is, I don't owe you anything. You go ahead and try and collect.
Yeah, come and take it. Come and take it. I dare you.
Yeah,
so.
You try. to collect on that. I dare you
Yes.
to try.
Yeah. The jury this week ordered all defendants to pay millions to the plaintiffs, with compensatory.
Compensatory.
Thank you. Say that again.
Compensatory.
Compensatory damages totaling 26.5 million and punitive damages totaling 26 million. Yeah. Yeah. Ammons basically said, no, we're not paying shit.
Yeah.
Which I agree with.
When asked about paying the damages determined by the jury, Bundy told the Idaho Statesman, "I owe St. Luke's nothing." He
Yes.
said he has no plans to abide by the court's decision. "I plan on doing what I have been doing," Bundy said, "providing for my family and living life as much as normal." Bundy said he doesn't plan to appeal the decision because he doesn't, quote, "believe the court will bring justice to this," end
No.
quote.
It won't.
Yeah, because there's no point. There's no point in trying to appeal because clearly the court has shown that they don't care what's fair.
Mhm.
They don't care what the truth is. They don't care what reality should be.
Yep.
They
That's Ada County. That's Boise. Boise's leftist as fuck.
and you know why?
It's as bad as Missoula.
The funny thing is you know why Idaho and Utah and Wyoming and Idaho and Colorado and stuff have gotten so bad. It started because of California's 3 strikes rule.
Yep.
Once California instituted the 3 strikes rule, all these people who already had felonies started moving to these other states because that way they avoided, winding up with a 3rd felony.
Yep.
That would put them in prison for life. And what happened as a direct result of that was you had all of these California people bringing California politics.
California bullshit.
Yeah. I don't want none of this California bullshit.
Yeah.
You wound up with that.
I love that meme.
Yeah. Yes. You wound up with that in all these places that California bullshit had no place.
Austin, Texas is another one.
Yeah.
No, but all right, let's speaking of California bullshit, although this is technically not California bullshit, it's federal bullshit.
Same
but this
difference
is
at this
this
point.
yeah, okay. This is the article I didn't share with you. Okay, you're gonna like this one. You're really gonna like this one. Remember a couple of years ago when Chinese gaming giant Tencent began using facial recognition to keep kids from playing too many video games? It turns out that the Entertainment Software Rating Board, North America's video game rating agency, is looking to do something quite similar. The ESRB, along with a digital identity company Yoti, YOTI, and Epic Games-owned youth digital media company Super Awesome, have filed a proposal with the FTC seeking approval for a new, quote, verifiable parental consent mechanism, quote, verifiable parental consent mechanism called the Privacy Protective Facial Age Estimation. Simply put, the parents take a selfie assisted by a, quote, auto face capture module, which is then analyzed by the system to ensure it's the face of an adult who can then grant whatever permission are required. The entire process of verification takes less than a second on average, and images are permanently deleted from the verification or once the verification is complete. Yes.
Allegedly.
Quote, the upload of still images is not accepted, and photos that do not meet the required level of quality to create an age estimation are rejected. The factors minimize the risk of circumvention and of children taking images of unaware adults. Of course, kids outsmarting the system isn't only the risk at play here. Accuracy strikes as a big one, given the facial recognition technology is so notoriously racist. A study concluded in the U.S., for instance, found that Asian and African American people are up to 100 times more likely to be incorrectly identified by facial recognitions than white people. So,
Are you kidding me? Don't even worry about black people. What about Asians?
yes.
Are you kidding me? Those people don't age, okay? They don't fucking age. And it's weird, but they don't. I'm jealous as shit. Like, I have met Asian women who are like in their mid 40s, and I'm like, damn, you hot. And then I find out they're like 10 to 20 years older than me. How is that possible?
Yes.
It's unfair. It is unfair. We need to research this and figure out how do we make the rest of us age at that rate, because this isn't fair.
Okay, the ESRB has released a statement clarifying that this technology does not, quote, confirm the identity of the users, nor is it intended to scan the faces of minors to determine whether they're old enough to purchase particular games. It only uses images to determine the subject's age in order to ensure compliance with the COPPA privacy requirements.
So essentially what this is saying is that if I want to control what my kid does, I need to scan my face and willingly give them my biometric information.
Yes.
That's what I need to do.
Yes. Yes.
To be able to say, like, okay, so I understand where the good intention is.
I understand the intent.
I get it, right? It's basically like, hey, we could not possibly afford enough people to babysit all of these little fucking brats who were using all this fucking technology. I get it, right? I get it. So they want to use tech to replace the people.
Yeah, it's for the safety of the children.
And I get it, and it's an admirable goal. But the road to hell
is paved with good intentions.
Yes.
Like unknowingly and willingly forcibly injecting people with plutonium.
Exactly. So what's happening here is they're going, oh, just give us your facial recognition.
Yes.
And then that way we know who you are. And then
we totally
when your kids try to do things.
Totally promise to delete the picture.
Yeah, and we absolutely promise to delete the data and to make it inaccessible to human beings. So that, because I mean, it's not even about pictures, right? Like, biometric data does not need photos.
Yes.
Biometric data is about the distance between the center of your eyes, the distance to your mouth, the distance to your chin. There's a bunch of things that are unique to every single individual or nigh unique to every single individual.
Yeah,
in aggregate are
the veins in your eyes are as unique as your fingerprints.
Yes. Yeah, your iris print. I forget what exactly it's called, but your iris print is unique to you. And weirdly, fun fact, so identical twins share fingerprints. They do not share iris prints.
My nephews can't even share a bedroom.
But it's the one and only thing that is truly identifiable between identical twins.
Yeah. You know what's funny?
So,
because that's not even the most erroneous or egregious thing I read today, or I read this week. You want to know the most egregious thing I read this week?
Oh, God.
Garnett Harper was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney disease in February 2022. also known as end-stage renal disease. His organs were close to failure. Though through routine blood work, Harper discovered his kidney function was only about 8%, meaning his kidney had already failed. His only option was to receive a kidney transplant. The doctor suggested to Harper that he should get a COVID-19 vaccine to protect himself from getting the virus and getting sick. Harper, however, said he did not want to reveal his vaccination status. Harper's wife, Megan, said that her husband was later referred to a London, so this is London, Ontario, Canada, to a London hospital for a possible transplant. He was considered a good candidate for the transplant due to his young age, 35 years old. Quote, we were told that we couldn't get a referral to a hospital in London if Garnett was not vaccinated for COVID-19. So they said we couldn't even begin the process. We couldn't even start to be considered to get onto a transplant list. Harper's family received similar responses when they contacted other hospitals in Ontario. Megan said her husband tried to heal himself naturally and thought he was making progress, but he died from a bleeding stroke on May 22nd, 2023, after a lifetime of diabetes. Quote, we should never have had to wait this long to even get on a list or be considered for a referral. We should have just been able to get the referral last year, Megan says. Quote, if we were able to get on the list before he was admitted to the hospital last September, then he would have been strong enough to receive that transplant, but they denied us that right. Quote, they denied us that ability. They denied us the ability to even explore live donor opportunity. His two brothers said they were willing to donate a kidney. He was still pushing. So he was fighting for that up to the last moment.
He had people who were actively willing to give him their kidneys to save his life. And the hospital said no, because he would refuse to receive an untested, unverified experimental vaccine.
Yes, the Trillium program. That's the one that runs the hospitals up there. Trillium. After Harper was placed on life support, Megan got a call from the Trillium program asking about organ donations, which she says angered her.
Oh, did it?
They wouldn't let him get a kidney transplant because of COVID-19, but they asked her to donate her husband's organs, even though he didn't have a COVID-19 vaccination.
I'm not saying that would upset me.
I'm just saying I might unwillingly inject some people with plutonium.
I might unwillingly inject some people with lead. Not plutonium.
Depleted uranium.
Not uranium. It's daughter product, lead 204. Lead. I might potentially feel the need.
Yes. Yeah. I would just yes. This gets better, of course.
Of course it does.
Of course. This is quote, they call you while you're sitting next to your dying loved one, and they ask you if they can have his organs. Meanwhile, he wasn't good enough to receive organs from them. I can't describe that feeling. It makes me sick to my stomach.
I bet it fucking does.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers. You pieces of subhuman scum. Denied this man treatment that would have saved his life, allowed him to be there for his fucking family. You denied it because he refused your experimental, untested mystery juice And you have
A-
the fucking nerve.
A father of 5. He's a father of 5. They denied a 35-year-old father of 5 a kidney transplant because he didn't have a COVID vax, and then dared ask his wife while she's sitting next to her dying husband.
Hey, since we killed him, you mind if we go ahead and use his unvaccinated organs?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm not saying that there is a rational response to this.
I'm just saying that my lawyer has advised me not to comment any further.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if you are listening to the audio version of this, you may not know what my response to this might be.
Andrew's holding an AK.
It's my emotional support
Yes.
AK.
It's an emotional support AK, yes. Yes. Yes.
All I'm saying is, motherfucker. Like, if I'm in her situation and that nurse walks in, I'm going to prison for beating someone to death.
Oh, he was also a small business owner. Yay.
What a surprise. It's almost like government really wants to destroy small businesses and everything else. Hey, look at that.
He also volunteered with the Glad Tidings Youth Group and the Elgin Street Mission. So there you go.
I'm not saying there are solutions, but you might see some.
There are a lot of solutions, but they can't do that because Canada.
You might encounter some solutions.
Yes.
That are effective. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. And we all remember that. We all remember. There we go. We all remember when everything started coming out about how the virus wasn't that bad and how the vaccine actually was causing all these issues and everything. We all remember this. And then what did they do? Oh, well, can't we just forgive and forget? Can't we just declare an amnesty? No, motherfuckers, we can't. Because we refused.
This small business owning father of 5 died because of their bullshit.
Yeah. We fucking refused it, and we were the ones who were ostracized. We are the ones who are denied organ transplants. We are the ones who were constantly told that we were no longer welcome in society.
We were told that we were going to kill grandma.
Yeah.
We were told we were going to kill grandma by trying to hug her.
And you wanted to do all this shit, and you screamed and yelled, and you wished for our deaths.
Yes.
And you want to go, well, can't we just forgive and forget? No, we cannot, because you are the motherfuckers who decided to say that shit and say we weren't allowed in society and you hoped we died, and advocated in multiple news articles in massive national fucking publications advocating for our active deaths, for us to be hunted down and killed. You did that, and now that you know that we were right the whole fucking time, want to go, can't we forgive and forget? That is the fucking definition of narcissism.
Can't we forgive, forget?
You.
Can't we forgive, forget, and take your organs?
Yeah. Can we just let it go and just take your...
No.
Fuck you. Fuck you. I hope every single one of your fucking vaccinated patients dies horribly, screaming in front of their fucking families.
All right. Okay, hold on. Now that Andrew's all hyped up, I have to push his button even further.
Yeah, it's gonna go well.
He spent 10 years.
The federal agents who watch me are going, do it, do it, do it, do it.
He spent 10 years behind bars without being convicted. He'll have to wait longer to have the case resolved. A Georgia man who was jailed for nearly 10 years without being convicted of a crime will now have to wait even longer to have his case resolved. Maurice Jimerson was arrested on murder charges in 2013, finally received a trial this month, but the trial ended with a hung jury, so he's still behind bars.
Oh, wait, Georgia's a giant pile of shit that fucking ignores everything to do with the Constitution? I am fucking shocked.
This gets so good. You know this gets so good. If it was
the
just
state
that,
of Georgia,
if it was just that, I wouldn't have even shared this article.
If there is a state that should have been nuked into oblivion, it is the state of Georgia. That entire state is populated by the worst human beings who have ever lived.
Yes. Jimerson's lawyer, Andrew Fleischman, argues that the decade his client spent in jail before trial should allow the charges against him to be dismissed. Quote, you talk about getting hostages out of countries like North Korea or Iran, and the average time is 6 years. We talk about those countries having failed puppet justice systems with no expectations of due process, and yet we have an American in this country waiting 10 years for an opportunity to force the state to prove its case. And that, to me, is outrageous. That's the longest anyone has been held in custody before a trial outside of Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. 2 of Jimerson's co-defendants were acquitted in 2017. I'll repeat that. 2 of Jimerson's co-defendants were acquitted in 2017, but Jimerson has remained jailed. No one seems exactly sure why. In April, Dougherty County prosecutor Greg Edwards told Atlanta News First that much of the delay can be contributed to COVID-19 pandemic, a 2021 courthouse flood, and a decision by a previous judge to try Jimerson and his co-defendant separately. So, okay, hold on. So that was attributed to COVID-19. COVID-19 didn't happen until 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020. That was only 3 years ago. What about the rest of it? What about the other 8 fucking years?
Courthouse flood in 2021. Right? Making matters worse for Jimerson, he was recently left without legal representation for over 8 months. In July and August of last year, the public defender repeatedly asked to be released from representing Jimerson, citing his need to travel frequently to seek medical care for his infant daughter. Court employees apparently lost the request and only granted in April after local journalists pressed the issue.
Exactly, because this is Georgia, right? This is, and I've talked about this on this podcast before, okay? This is Georgia. This is how awful and corrupt and shitty and fucking oppressive this state is. The state of Georgia is the worst state in the union by far, with their everything to do with their justice system. They have no justice. They are the United Soviet Socialist Republic of Georgia, right? They are fucking, that state needs to be turned into a fucking smoking crater. If you want to test a nuclear weapon, test it in the state of Georgia, I beg you.
Okay. Fleischman, who is representing Jimerson pro bono, has filed a motion to have Jimerson's case dismissed entirely, citing Supreme Court precedent that allows charges to be dismissed if an individual is held in pretrial detention for too long. If his motion is denied, Fishman says that he will appeal the case to the Georgia Supreme Court. Quote, we should not punish people before they have been convicted of a crime. The process
that's the state of Georgia way, motherfucker. Were you unaware?
Yeah. The process of indicting somebody is just telling 16 to 22 strangers a story for which there is no rebuttal, and to hold somebody for 10 years just on that story is a violation of due process. Jimerson has a bail hearing August 8th. Fishman hopes the bail will be set low enough that he can be released while awaiting either his second trial or the dismissal of the case. Yes, so he's been in jail for a decade without a conviction.
Yeah, a decade. Do you know the kind of lawsuit? The kind of lawsuit and you know what? And lawsuit doesn't begin to cover it. There are other solutions that need to happen with regards to the judge, the prosecutor. But here's the thing. This is the state of Georgia. This is entirely and completely unsurprising to anyone who has ever lived in the state of Georgia. They all go, yeah, because that's Georgia.
Yeah.
That is the way that state is.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite here in California with like shoplifting and all that other stuff. Yeah, as long as you don't kill someone in the state of California, as long as you don't kill someone, it's generally just here's a ticket or R&R, release on recognizance, release on your own recognizance. It's insane. It's insane the difference between here and there.
If you want to know the fastest way to a life sentence in Georgia, and I've told this joke before, the fastest way to a life sentence in Georgia is smoke some pot and then tell a cop to fuck himself.
Yeah.
You'll probably wind up with a life sentence in the state of Georgia. This is how much these people masturbate with the American flag.
All right, hold on.
I'm pretty sure that there is not a man in the state of Georgia who cannot get off or who can get off without the Pledge of Allegiance playing. Like, this is...
Oh, we have Georgia in the house.
Yeah. Andrew isn't being sarcastic. Yeah. This is the fucking state of Georgia. Anyone who has been there, right? Come on vacation, stay because you're on probation. Okay.
Alabama's the same way. Yeah.
These places need to simply be cut out of the United States because they're not in line with the spirit of the founding of the United States or the U.S. Constitution. They are in line with King George.
Yep. Speaking of
in 1776, I fucking hate the state of Georgia so deeply, so fucking deeply, that if I could go back in time and join Sherman on his march
to Atlanta,
I would have trouble setting fires because I would be blowing in my pants constantly. Okay. I fucking hate that state so deeply.
Okay, we got hold on. Okay. Save your energy for this next one. Firearms Policy Coalition and the Firearms Policy Coalition Action Foundation announced the filing of an important brief in the United States Supreme Court in the case of Lauper Bright Enterprises versus Raimundo, in which the FPC and the FPCAF asked the Supreme Court to overrule the deference doctrine of the court established in Chevron USA versus Natural Resource Defense Council. Blah blah. Chevron deference, as it has come to be known, requires a court to defer to an executive branch's agency interpretation of federal law, even if that interpretation is not in the best interpretation of the law. The doctrine has allowed federal executive branch agencies such as the ATF to run wild, unchecked by either Congress or the courts. Ending Chevron deference will help ensure that the courts can better check federal executive branch power. Quote, Chevron violates Article 3 by chance, but...
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, because I have to pee really bad.
Okay. Chevron violates Article 3 by transferring from the judiciary to the executive the ultimate interpretive authority to say what the law is, end quote, argues the brief. Quote, it violates Article 1 by incentivizing Congress to abdicate its legislative duties and delegate legislative authority to the executive. As a result, Chevron accumulates legislative, executive, and judicial powers in a single branch of government, which the founders considered the very fucking, that's my editorial, fucking definition of tyranny. The framers of our Constitution learned from thousands of years of human experience that the government, with power concentrated in one body, is unsustainable and often tyrannical, said FCPAF's Director of Constitutional Studies, Joseph Greenlee. The framers therefore separated the legislative, executive, and judicial functions in our Constitution to prevent tyranny and safeguard our liberties. Chevron deference undoes this deliberate design, paving the way for abusive governance. We're hopeful that the court will use this opportunity to overrule Chevron and restore the founders' design.
Yes, I'm a little bit. Yes, that gave me a chub. I love SPC.
FPC is fucking phenomenal. If you do not support them, for the love of God, it's $25 a year. Fucking go do it, you pieces of shit. You drink 2 less fucking fancy coffees a year, and you can support them.
Yes, unless you're in the state of Georgia, which you can fuck off.
Yeah, if you're in the state of Georgia, you need to move out of there, because the state of Georgia needs to be turned into a smoking fucking crater for the good of all humanity. God, I hate them so much. It's so like I understand that a lot of it is rational, but honestly, like, the state is a cesspit. And no part of it is not a cesspit. And you talk to people.
Would you rather live in Georgia or Bikini Atoll?
Bikini Atoll. Honestly, I would rather never have children again and be sterilized by the radiation.
I'd rather glow in the dark.
I would rather move to Pripyat.
There you go.
Okay, outside Chernobyl. And property prices are remarkably low there. Can't imagine why.
People generally leave you alone there too.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works.
Plenty of dogs to adopt.
I would rather live in Pripyat.
You got to deal with the tourists though. There's a lot of fucking tourists now.
There are, but there's also the stalkers who are pretty cool. And no, I've legitimately actually considered, like, I've looked at property listings in Pripyat. And they're not bad.
I gotta get a lottery ticket for Tuesday night.
You can stay for about 2 weeks solid with no major issues, not even approaching major issues. And for the sake of caution,
that's assuming you want to live
for a couple weeks. Well, yeah.
If I'm going there, I'm going full, Fallout, New Vegas vibes.
There is a woman. This old fucking babushka, okay, who lives on the edge of Pripyat and has lived there since the evacuation, who farms it, lives there, eats. She travels a few miles to go to town so she can get cigarettes and shit. And she's like in her fucking 80s now, okay?
I bet you money she has the absolute best goulash on the planet too, though.
This woman is the baddest ass human being who has ever fucking lived. She's like, radiation can suck my asshole. I
just see her doing the Salt Bay guy, sprinkling plutonium on her goulash.
Yeah, she gives no fucks. Like, this lady is farming and like everything in the exclusion zone, and has been since the day the evacuation happened, and does not care. And she has been there and is now in her 80s and has, according to the last video I watched where there was an interview with herself, no ill health effects. Her biggest bitch is that her nearest doctor is 40 miles away because they don't want to live in the radiation zone.
Bitches. What a bitch.
Yeah. And that's like her attitude. First of all, this is why I love Eastern European women. Second of all, because I'm just like, Oh, yeah.
That TikTok audio. I don't want to be strong like man. I want to be strong like woman who fights bear in the forest.
Right? Like
Yes.
the whole reason I'm so into like Andrea and fucking Svetlana and these shit. I'm into Eastern European women because look at that. That right there. That's what I'm talking about, motherfuckers. Like, yeah. You know, if you produce children from those people, they are going to be the fittest when it comes to survival of the fittest. All right. Like,
Yes.
that's going to fucking happen.
Yes.
But yeah, it was like, it's fucking nuts. Like, this chick's been living there and just keeps going. It blows my fucking mind.
All right, we got one more article. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito gives the middle finger to Congress. No provision in the Constitution gives them the authority to regulate the Supreme Court. Period.
Oh gosh.
He's not
it's
wrong.
Almost like he's quoting the United States Constitution,
yes,
which gives a middle finger to Congress.
Yes. Who's Congress going to appeal to? I mean, what they going to take the Supreme Court to court? After months of news reports documenting instances of Supreme Court justices breaking judicial ethics standards and Democratic lawmakers pushing for a code of conduct to be implemented, conservative Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito revealed in an interview that he doesn't believe that Congress has the authority to tell the court what to do. Okay. That was literally the entire point of the three branches of the military, or the three branches of government. Just say that's separation of executive and legislative powers is literally one of the entire points of the Constitution. Okay. Quote, Congress did not create the Supreme Court. Alito said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, quote, I know this is a controversial view, but I'm willing to say it. No provisions in the Constitution give them the authority to regulate the Supreme Court, period. He added that while he can't speak for the other justices, he thinks it's, quote, something we have all thought about. The comments perpetuated by at least two Democratic members of Congress. Following the article's publication, Representative Ted Lieu took to Twitter to remind Alito that Congress does have some oversight over the Supreme Court. Quote, Dear Justice Alito, you're on the Supreme Court in part because Congress expanded the court to 9 justices. Congress can impeach justices and can in many ways strip the court of jurisdiction. Congress has always regulated you and will continue to do so. You are not above the law.
Congress has the ability to impeach justices if they're found to have engaged in blatant impropriety.
Yes.
Like they were bribed. That they can impeach them for. But I don't like what your decisions are because I really want to violate the Constitution and you're not letting me, is not in fact a reason. In fact, the distribution of powers and where the Supreme Court is was specifically designed so that the Supreme Court could curtail a Congress that was attempting to usurp the Constitution.
Yes.
That was intentional. So all of these little clips at your power that are happening, Congress, from the Supreme Court in the United States.
Yep.
That's by fucking design because you're overstepping your fucking powers.
Checks and balances.
Yeah, I love
checks and balances.
God, I love when I hear these lefties go, they're legislating from the bench. Really? Really? Are they? Because I feel like they're undoing legislation that has occurred and saying, hey, that's not constitutional. And they're justifying it. What was happening before when you guys were getting everything you wanted was that they were legislating from the fucking bench because they were adding things to the law that didn't currently exist, that no one had passed any laws for. That's what was happening. And it's ironic that you're trying to adopt all of this jargon that has been used by constitutionalists for decades now that the Supreme Court is actually saying things that are in line with the Constitution.
Yes.
Suddenly you're arguing and you're going, but you're legislating from the bench. No, now they're undoing the legislation from the fucking bench.
Yes.
And you're whining because they're saying, hey, you can't, unless Congress specifically passes this law, we don't have authorization to say anything on this. And like, that was the big one, right? That's the big one for me. When they go, well, unless Congress passes the law, we actually, the Constitution doesn't speak to this and we can't speak to this. Therefore, and we shouldn't have. You're legislating from the bench.
Yeah, that was the Roe versus Wade thing. It's like, the Supreme Court said, hey, we fucked up. We didn't have the authority to rule on this before.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? The Supreme Court has a right to render laws null and void because they are in violation of the Constitution, right? That is what they have the authority to do. What happened with Roe v. Wade is that they, because of the way the majority opinion was written, they not only rendered laws that did not, in fact, arguably violate the Constitution null and void, but then added to the Constitution, which they don't have the power to do. And as a result, when that's overturned, it's because the court goes, we actually didn't have the authority to do that. And this isn't a thing that we should have ruled on. And that's what happened. And then all these liberals go, but you're violating, you're legislating from the bench. No, they're unlegislating from the bench, you bunch of fucking mental midgets.
Yeah, de-legislating.
Yeah,
something
along those lines. They're rolling it back, the legislation from the bench. And it's funny because legislation from the bench was a buzzword for neocons for fucking 15 years, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing that neocons have been mentioning and everything. And it's yet another phrase that we're seeing where conservatives and even not conservatives, even libertarians and anarchists, things that we have been saying for years, right? The hyper progressives are trying to adopt this. They're trying to steal all of these terms and manipulate what they mean.
Yeah, co-opt the terms. Yeah,
they're trying to co-opt them. They're trying to corrupt them.
Yeah, just like racist, sexist, bigot, transphobe, all the other 47,000 buzzwords that they use. Oh. The same people that would have
render them meaningless.
Same people that would have denied a 35-year-old father of 5 small business owner a new kidney that his brothers wanted to donate because he didn't have a COVID-19 vaccination. Yeah.
And the really sad thing about that, if it weren't for state-sponsored healthcare, they wouldn't have been able to deny it. He would have been able to find a way.
Yep. There would have been somebody somewhere that would have taken it. Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody would have done it.
Yep.
But it's because of state healthcare that he couldn't.
Yep. No.
Even though someone was willing to.
Yeah. Two somebodies.
Yeah. Because the state doesn't give a fuck about you.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go. Let's find one more. I have a list. I keep a list of articles. Like I have two lists going, and like one of them is the podcast list, and it's like 26 links long. Okay, I got one. Okay, starting August 1st, the incandescent light bulb ban goes into effect.
Oh
So,
God.
yep, started. So August 1st, Americans will only be able to purchase LED lights from retailers across the nation, as the official ban on incandescent light bulbs will go into effect. Come Tuesday, while it won't be illegal to own incandescent light bulbs, it will be illegal for stores to sell them and for companies to manufacture them. Yeah, the federal government's warning started in January and have been getting progressively more aggressive as they want to make sure Americans don't go back in time. The government announced a ban on the manufacturing and selling incandescent light bulbs, saying it will help Americans save money and help the environment. Everyone will have to purchase LED or compact fluorescent light bulbs instead. Yeah,
The irony is that incandescent light bulbs can simply be thrown away.
Yeah.
Because the single most dangerous piece of them is the glass because it's sharp.
Yes.
Whereas CFLs
with the fluorescence,
have mercury in them and qualify as hazardous waste.
Yeah.
Now,
what's a little mercury to somebody that has been unknowingly or unwillingly forcefully injected with plutonium?
Right? Who cares? But like, I use almost exclusively LED light bulbs because they are simply more energy efficient.
What does it say?
Way more energy efficient.
75% uses 75% less energy and last up to 25 times longer. Which that's fine. I've been using them for a long time too. However,
now
people should have the choice.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're not talking about low flush toilets here. We're talking about fucking light bulbs.
It's not even just that you should have the choice. It's the reality that older homes have variable electrical flows, right?
Yes.
Because they're old wiring. And unless you're willing to rip out all of the wiring in a home and completely redo it, that can cause problems, which means that an incandescent light bulb can last in a light fixture because it can handle those fluctuations.
The aluminum wiring was designed for that.
Right. The incandescent light bulb can handle the fluctuations, but an LED cannot and will die very quickly as a direct result of the fluctuations. I know this personally because my home has one of those light fixtures, and it's fucking annoying because I can't get any incandescent bulbs to go in that fixture, which I know will last. Because it was 2 years that I was here that the incandescent that was there lasted, and I have put an LED in there and it keeps dying. Can I afford to replace a bulb? Yes. Can I afford to rip out all of the electrical wiring and completely replace it? Fucking no.
It says the agency also claimed that discontinuing inefficient incandescent lights will save Americans nearly $3 billion yearly and substantially reduce carbon dioxide emissions over the next 30 years.
Listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. Good ideas do not require force.
Hold on. Manufacturers who violate the ban could face a maximum penalty of $542 per illicit bulb.
Can you imagine being in prison? What are you in here for? I'm a light bulb smuggler.
That's like the stories you told me before about the toilets coming across the border. It's the same thing.
Wisconsin to this day is notorious for toilet smuggling.
Toilet smuggling.
We smuggle toilets like a motherfucker. You need a high flow toilet? I know a guy.
I know a guy. Yes.
It's, I mean, but we're notorious for toilet smuggling. Also, fun fact, to this day, yellow margarine is still technically legally banned in Wisconsin.
Oh.
White margarine is okay. Yellow margarine is unacceptable. So technically any yellow margarine sold in Wisconsin is illegal. Now, what I heard from my grandparents was that back in the
There you
day,
go.
you would get white margarine with a little yellow dye packet to put into it.
Scott says, I can remember when plastic was going to save us from glass and glass bottles and paper bags. I do too. I remember when plastic was the quote safe alternative. Yep.
Yeah. And isn't that ironic that we then figure out that actually glass is a biodegradable fucking material?
Sand.
Yeah, it turns back into sand.
Yep. Yep.
And paper just simply biodegrades.
There's a meme about a straw and someone's mouth. I'm just yeah, never mind.
Oh boy, we don't have plastic straws wrapped in paper anymore. Now we have paper straws wrapped in plastic.
It's like the meme I shared. I think I posted it in the group chat the other day about it's a turtle shell and it's being used to hold plastic straws. It's a little dark. It's a little dark.
I love it personally. It's but that's the other thing. Yeah, and the and recyclable was one of the comments in the chat. Yes, and glass is infinitely recyclable.
Yeah.
You can keep reusing it.
Yes.
You can melt it down and turn it back into something else.
So I have paperweights made from glass that melted when the Oakland Hills fire in the mid 90s or early 90s. So that's, recycle, reuse, reduce.
If you wanted to take those paperweights, collect them together, take them to a glass blower and turn them into glasses to use, you could do that.
Speaking of glass, there are glass plates and bowls, things like that do have uranium in the glass.
Yes, Carnival glass and milk
Carnival
glass.
I have
yes.
If you ever,
my mom has
if you ever go to like a Goodwill or Salvation Army, look through the dishes, bring a black light, and you can find Carnival glass.
Carnival glass is multicolored, but still translucent glass. Milk glass is white and opaque.
Yeah, don't eat.
They are both highly radioactive.
Don't eat the glass though. Just say.
Yeah, don't eat it. But you can. So my mom has my mother has a gigantic collection of milk glass and Carnival glass. Gigantic collection. It probably is. If you assembled all the pieces in one display case, you would have a display case that was, I'm going to say 20 feet long, 5 feet high.
Yes.
And probably 1.5 feet deep.
Yeah. Scott's a scrapper. He says very, very collectible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic stuff. And the reality is you could chuck that in your jock strap and wear it every day and still receive less radiation from it than you would from your cell phone being in your pocket.
Or from a depleted uranium round like the ones that the US just sent to Ukraine.
One depleted uranium round hitting a tank and then advancing on it with the dust still in the air.
You know, like they should do in Georgia. But anyway, let's throw some let's get our links and get out of here.
Oh, if let me see. Chris's one. Coffee
brand coffee.
Something coffee brand coffee.
Link
Buy
tree.
it.
Link tree.
So over here I have Reaper brand apparel right there. Super awesome brand, super awesome message. Definitely check them out. Definitely buy stuff from them because it's absolutely awesome. And if you want to, you can use code Inked Anarchist 10. You can get 10% off, but use the link tree link and you get 15% off instead. So it's an extra 5%.
Woo-hoo.
So use that. You might as well. Let's be honest. It's one click and you get extra.
It's not like
super
you're getting
awesome stuff.
It's not like you're getting free money from the government for your exposure to radiation,
right? Because they don't care if you have radiation exposure.
No.
They're not giving you anything. Also check out Dave at popinspatches.com. He's also on Etsy. He's on Facebook.
He just dropped
Instagram.
He just dropped a dinosaur ice cream mashup. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool looking.
The ice cream cone Stegosaurus.
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
It's awesome. He's got a bunch of nostalgia patches. He also has the Jolly Roger that we invented on this show.
Yes.
That's ours. Yeah. Buy that one, motherfuckers. Buy it. Support us. Make us seem cooler. It's super cool. I will say I wear the Jolly Roger all the fucking time on my hat. I love the Jolly Roger. It is super cool, and I've had multiple people go ha ha ha, and I'm like, it's the Jolly Roger, and they're like, oh my god, yes. And so trust me, go buy that one. It's super fucking awesome.
That'd be a cool band name also, Jolly Roger.
Jolly Roger.
It'd be like a emo ska band or something. Emo ska punk.
I miss when ska was big. I love ska. I was super into ska. Also, you know, he's got a ton of other cool shit, and his design, the Boogalorian, also one of ours. Check him out. Check out all of his stuff. It's super awesome. You will not regret it. The patches are really, really well done.
High quality.
Really high quality. Really high quality and super long lasting. Cannot recommend him enough. Check out Lions Among Sheep. We are also an affiliate of theirs. Again, link in the link tree. You get a discount and they have some super cool stuff. I really like their Free Man t-shirt. Super awesome. Make sure that you also check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15 at checkout and you get a 15% discount on all of your products. Super awesome. Really good beard shampoos, conditioners. They have beard straighteners. They have stuff for the ladies. They have all sorts of great scents. I really love Odin's Virtue. That's still my go-to scent because it's oud wood, it's apple, it's cinnamon. It's fantastic. I don't care if anybody else likes it. I like smelling it in the shower. Fuck everybody else.
Yes.
I love it. Let's see who else sponsors us. There's a bunch of other people.
Arcade Spookwear.
Yes, Arcade Spookwear. If you make your own shooty boys, and you need metal bic, for said shooty boys, Arcade Spookwear. Link in the description. Use that. You get a discount. God, we're actually sponsored by a lot of people. Why do all these people give us money? This is ridiculous.
Go to the link tree. They're all there.
They're all there. They're fantastic. All of those companies are awesome. We would not partner with a company if it was not awesome, and we didn't honestly think that you should.
We're punching up. We're punching up.
Yeah, we're We are out kicking our coverage like hell with a bunch
well,
of these sponsors. They are way cooler than we are.
Yep. All right,
But we love them, and you should show them love.
Yes, I got a fun
for
fact
us.
for you before we sign off.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Nick Castle, who played the original Mike Myers in Halloween, adopted a cat and named it Michael Meowers.
Ah,
Yes.
of course he did.
Michael Meowers. Yes.
No, get out. Out.
We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.